Illinois, Penn State, you mentioned that this is going to be fascinating to watch from an Illinois perspective for sure, but even for a Penn State perspective as well, because we've seen Drew Aller now through these 2 games. He looked awesome week 1 against West Virginia. They play an FCS opponent week 2, and he helps carve them up. He doesn't even really have to play in the second half of that game. So this Drew Aller era is clearly – it's well past the Sean Clifford era, as crazy as that sounds, for as long as he was the starter there. And they're into this Drew Aller, Nick Singleton, Katron Allen, Keandre Lambert-Smith offense with that menacing Manny Diaz defense. You go up against the Illinois team now coming off a loss that's going to want to find themselves back on the right track. And Brett Bielema always has some tricks up his sleeve. So I'm not just going to count out the Illini just because they looked poor maybe in week 1 or 2. He's going to get his guys ready for this. He always does. So what do you see with these 2 teams as Penn State looks to go 3-0?
Well, I think that, Illinois definitely has got to be looking for a bounce back opportunity. That was a disappointing loss to Kansas. The biggest thing that's been surprising to me in the first 2 weeks of the season from the Illinois standpoint is I know they lost some guys in the draft on defense, and I know they lost Ryan Walters to go be the head coach at Purdue, but I thought that they still had enough to be a really stingy, strong defense, and they have not played all that well defensively in the first 2 games. Now, last week, Jalen Daniels with Kansas is a dynamic dual threat guy. Drew Aller's not the same kind of quarterback, but extremely talented. And I don't think Kansas had the kind of running backs that they'll see with Penn State. So it'll be a real challenge for the Illinois defense, but I would expect them to try to step up and play better than they played. And then offensively, kind of what I was talking about with Minnesota, if you can possess the ball and run the football, hit some play action passes, shorten the game a little bit, and limit the number of times Penn State gets it on offense, and limit their opportunities for explosive plays, and you have a chance to kind of fight your way into the game and try to get into the fourth quarter. So I would expect to see the best version of Illinois football that we've seen so far this year. I don't know if that's good enough to beat Penn State or not, because I think through 2 weeks, Penn State has looked as good and as impressive on both sides of the ball as anybody in college football, right? Not just the Big Ten, anybody in college football.
Well, certainly the Big Ten, but I think you're absolutely correct. It's been wildly impressive, and we could feel the confidence that the group had overall. Definitely James Franklin, the way that just his vibe and being around the team, you could tell that he knew this team had a chance to be special. And so far, I think they've passed each test with flying colors, and Drew Aller just looks so at ease with taking over this job and taking over that role as a leader. And that was one of the things that we had heard, by the way, was that all their vocal and distinct leaders they had last year were all gone, whether it was Sean Clifford or whether those defensive studs that they lost were really vocal for them. It's been more of a leadership by committee to a certain degree for Penn State, and guys who maybe are a little more subdued in their vocal ways have been willing to speak up a bit more. But it's been cool to see just them come together so quickly and play the way they have. So it'll be nice as another test for them against Illinois this week.
Yeah, and I think, getting back to, what James Franklin and his staff did with Drew Aller last year, this will be their first road game now going to Champaign. And Drew Aller played in 10 games last year, and he played on the road. So he played at Purdue in week 1. Under the lights. He played at Michigan. Even though Michigan beat Penn State pretty handily last year, he was in that environment in the Big House. So that was very smart, because now when he goes on the road for the first time as a starting quarterback, he's been on the road. He's been on the field in an opposing stadium, taking snaps and running plays. So that the way they utilized him last year and worked him into games and got him reps was really, really smart.